All right, want to do a quick video talking about garden fabric today. I guess if you're the kind of backyard farmer that likes to, I don't know, maybe you don't have a lot of equipment and tractors or rototillers, or you don't like to use GMO or stuff. I mean, we just ended up using plastic over the years, and I want to give you some quick tips about what we've learned, because I think after doing it a number of years and trying a number of different products out there, I've started to figure out what I like and what I don't like. So I'm just going to try and rattle off everything I know about it real quick. And it's not just plastic, I guess there are different kinds of fabrics, and I'll show you a few. But yeah, I suppose one thing to keep in mind is if you do go with the plastic or cloth, I mean, if it's plastic, if at all possible, try and make sure it's like, you don't want like that, I forget what it is, BMP or whatever, you want it to be BMP free or whatever that is. You don't want the bad stuff going in, leaching out of the plastics into the dirt and whatnot. But anyway, this is the product that we thought we decided was going to be like the best thing for us. But after using it for a year, this is like, I guess, something that's like being put out there as one of the best products for this type of thing. And I'm just going to talk about what I learned about it and what I don't like about it. And in the end, I think something like this might actually be the best way to go. Again, if you can find something that doesn't have like the bad plastics in it. I don't know if this is the exact product, but it's kind of, I mean, essentially what this is just, it's just a roll of black plastic, and it looks like that's 4 mil thick. I forget, man, I think 4 mil is thick enough. I've got some of it in here, I can just tell by feeling it. Because one thing I've learned, yeah, I think that's thick enough. But one thing I've learned with some of these things, it doesn't make any sense, but some of these fabrics are not thick enough to block the weeds. Like this stuff right here. This is kind of like a cloth. And you got to be really careful. Like they advertise this as like weed barrier or whatever it is. I don't know, but this is a cloth, and you can see over the years it just kind of starts to deteriorate and break apart. So do the plastics, by the way. On that note, but like we got a thinner plastic one year, and that thing started to disintegrate, and I let it go for like a year, and it was a huge awful mess cleaning up. Like it fell apart into like thousands of little pieces, and the chickens got into it and just tore it up. So if you see that stuff starting to break apart, get rid of it. I might have just had the wrong kind. The stuff I showed you earlier was thicker, but this stuff is cloth, and we bought a whole bunch of it, and we just threw it down on the ground. And all of a sudden, we noticed that the fabric was starting to balloon up, and it was like, what on earth is going on? And we found out all the weeds were just growing underneath this stuff like nothing. And so we had to double it up. Like, so you can see I've kind of folded 2 layers of it, and that is just a pain to work with. So if you get this cloth or plastic, you want to make sure it is thick enough to block the weeds out. And I can tell you, I wish I could tell you what this is. I'm just going to say be wary. Like that stuff was not thick enough. So anyway, this stuff with the green stripes, that's the product that I mentioned last year that we ended up buying a whole lot of, and we thought it was going to be like the end all beat all, and it seemed to be the thing that everyone was advertising, like in the homesteading worlds, doing it this way or whatever. But the thing I don't like about it, a couple things I don't like about it, what I've discovered this year, is, when you have a garden like this, you actually need to move the plastic around. Like I like to put fertilizer and manure and stuff, mix it into my my rows here, and I've got to move the plastic to be able to do that. And what I discovered was, just to show you, it's been kind of wet lately, but if you look at the bottom side of this, I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of got this fuzz on it. It's like black fuzz, and at first I thought, oh, that's really cool, because the cool thing is, if you leave it there for a little while and it gets wet and whatnot, it kind of works its way into the mud. And this fabric pretty much almost holds itself down onto the ground without the need for logs and rocks and stuff to hold it down. So I thought that was pretty neat. But what I discovered this year that I really don't think I like is when you have to pull this stuff up to move it, that little fuzz will rip off and get stuck in the soil. And then it like when you pull it up, there's like this layer of fuzz, and you can't really remove it, and it just kind of gets worked into your dirt and stuff, and I just don't like it. I have to tell you, I don't like that. And another thing I discovered, like you can see a little bit of dirt is getting on the mat. When you pull weeds and stuff, or you hill potatoes and stuff, I mean, dirt will fall off onto the mat and stuff. And this stuff is like some kind of a woven fabric, and it does a pretty good job of keeping the weeds from growing through. But if you allow dirt to accumulate on top of this stuff, weeds will grow on top of the dirt, and they will grow through this plastic. And it, like, you know, this spring, as I was cleaning up the plastic, moving it to manure and stuff, it was just a big, oh, it was awful. I had to pull these things up, and I had to clean them off, and I had to get all the weeds out that were growing through them, because just, it's good practice not to let dirt accumulate on them. But I mean, it just happened, and we're going to try and do better this year, but it happens. And so I don't like that. It was really hard to get all the grass out. And I don't know if I did get all the grass out. Like, I'm kind of holding my breath to see what happens this year. Like, you can see here, and this, you can see how the weeds are starting to come up here. That's where I had the plastic before I moved it just a few weeks ago. But I'm worried. I am worried, and I'm praying and hoping that somehow the seedlets or little pieces of grass that were like stuck in this thing don't actually try and just take root and start to grow right up through like I tried to clean them off the best I could, but I hope that doesn't happen. Okay, one other good thing about this, I guess, if you got a garden on a hill, I think this stuff has a little more traction to it than like that black plastic. So here's some of that black plastic, which I think is the way. If I ever had to redo this, I think that's the way I would go in the future. Because this was just was so easy to clean. Like, same thing, like I have to move the plastic to like manure my rows and stuff, but this was really easy. I moved it and I lifted it up, and all the weeds and all the dirt just fell off, and I moved it over, and it's ready to go. But this stuff, we were scrubbing on it with brooms and stuff to try and clean it off. It was a big pain. I did not like that. If I could do it over, I don't think I would use that. So I guess I'm going to show you, and as I mentioned, like you want to make sure to keep an eye on this kind of plastic. Like, make sure it's thick enough. I think 4mm thickness is minimum. If you get thinner, it might not block the weeds from growing, and it might break apart. Like, the sun's rays might just break it apart over the years. And if you notice it does start to kind of crack, you got to throw it out. Throw it out as soon as possible, because if you let that go like through a winter or something, that stuff will just break into a million pieces, and it's just awful to clean. So I guess I'm going to mention one more thing that I noticed. And when we built our house recently, we had some geotextile cloth from our French drain left over. And we just had a few pieces of it floating around the house, and we had like all mud around our homestead, so we were using it to like walk around and just try and have something other than mud to walk on. But this is like some really thick stuff. If you're curious, I can try and find you the exact names for some of these all these products mentioned. Just leave me a comment in the video's description or comments below the video. But yeah, this stuff, it's a geotextile, and it's thicker. It's very thick. And you know, it just, anywhere you laid it down, it was really nice. It just killed all the weeds, and no weeds were growing up through it. And the couple other things I like about it was, after it gets wet, after a few weeks, it kind of conforms to the ground and it gets stuck to the ground. So like, again, you don't have to cover it with rocks and things. It just kind of gets stuck to the ground, and that's makes it simpler. That's kind of, I guess, the biggest pain with this other black plastic that I'm telling you is if I could redo it, that's probably what I would do. The only thing that's like a real pain about that is you have to hold it down with like rocks, or you have to logs. You have to come up with a way to hold it down. I mean, I wouldn't puncture it with steeples and stuff, but I think I still need to come up with a clever way to deal with that. But anyway, this stuff is cool because it does a good job of keeping the weeds down. On a hillside garden, like this is on a slope, I like to use that stuff on. Sorry, my phone ran out of storage there. So anyway, I was just going to say the nice thing about this is it after a while it conforms to the ground and you don't need to weigh it down, keeps the weeds down, and it what's the other thing it does? Oh, it's good traction on a hill. So like this is like nice cloth and it's not slippery like this plastic. If you're on a hill, if it gets wet, it's like a banana peel. So that's the nice thing about it, but that one is kind of expensive. I don't know if it'd be very, like it's a geotextile product, and so it's meant for something else, but I just discovered it works really well for this. If you can actually find a cost-effective way to do it. So just wanted to share some thoughts about black plastic. Let me know your thoughts. Again, if I could do it over, I think I would just do something like this kind of plastic. It's like 4 millimeters. It's just the bad thing is it's cost effective, but you have to weigh it down with rocks and stuff. But it's yeah, compared to everything else, I think that if I had to do it over, that's what I would do.